Ah, Makaimura. Is there any game series more built on sheer hatred of its own players? Not only hard, but why would you inflict that on somebody hard? Back when the NES was the new hot thing, I really didn't like this port of Ghosts and Goblins. Mainly because I found the arcade version to be so much better. At the time, it was because of the graphics, but now, the arcade version is so much better because it just plays so much better. It's rare that you can say this, but the original arcade version of Makaimura is much easier than the Famicom version. And the blame for that falls squarely on the shoulders of the company that ported it, everyone's favorite, Micronics. At least they didn't inflict as much slowdown on us as they usually do. But they introduced other problems that turned a game that's already pretty difficult into one that's just nightmarish. I mean, last time I played the arcade Ghosts and Goblins, I got to the 5th boss on 1 credit. Playing the Famicom port this time, I struggled to get past the ogres on stage 2. The game's story is another rescue the princess plot. This time she's been kidnapped by Satan, though, and it's up to the knight Arthur to fight his way through the armies. Arthur's fragility is one of the more infamous things in gaming. One hit knocks his armor off, the next hit turns him into a pile of bones. One thing we're starting to see as we work our way through these Famicom games is that the international release is the better version. We're going to see a lot of times where the later release gets bug fixes, gameplay refinements, and other tweaks that improve the game. I'm mentioning this because I'm about to get into complaints about Makaimura, which are improved on in Ghosts and Goblins. And the most significant change, and the one that makes Makaimura the worst version, is the weapon speed. The weapons don't do different damage in Makaimura. Every enemy just requires a certain number of hits. And the Famicom port of Makaimura slows the weapons way down. The dagger is usually the king of weapons in this series because of its high rate of fire. But in this port, you can only throw 2 at a time. It does move slightly faster than the lance, so it's not completely redundant. I'd like to be able to say that the torch doesn't deserve its bad reputation, but the rate of fire is so restricted in Makaimura that it's effectively unusable. It might almost be worth it to just stick with the lance the whole time, except for one of the worst additions to any game port ever. Some bosses in Makaimura are immune to certain weapons. In particular, the unicorn is immune to the cross, the dragon is immune to the lance, and Satan is immune to the axe. There's no reason why it should be this way, it's just outright cruelty. Which brings me to the enemies, and the best place to start with that is the series' iconic enemy, the Red Artemer. The red demon that flies up and mocks you. I remember that the most common strategy given was to just run from him. But he's actually pretty easy to deal with. It takes 4 hits to kill the Artemer. You can get 2 hits in while he's waking up, and then the trick is to stop firing. Wait for the swoop, jump back, turn around, and throw. The Artemer will start moving up again and go right into your attack. Easy peasy. The real threats in Makaimura are the randomly spawning enemies. They'll inevitably come in while you can't deal with them and get a hit in fast. Plus, for some enemies like these imps, you won't know their movement pattern until after they've started moving. And by then it might be too late to get out of the way. Really, the toughest enemy in the game are these ogres at the house on the 2nd stage. They take 10 hits to kill, and with a reduced rate of fire, that makes it really tough to take one out. Especially with birds constantly spawning around you. The best solution I've found to getting through the house, short of damage boosting speedrunning strategies, is to take out the ogres on the far right before you fully climb the house. They don't respawn, so you can clear the path to get through. One thing to keep an eye out for as you play is that jumping or crouching in certain spots will spawn pots. You can get points, a new weapon, your armor back, or even an extra life out of them. Micronics' port shows their usual skill. Scrolling is choppy, the platforming is rough, and there are some fun bugs. Like this one that jerks you forward when the moving platform reverses direction. There are 2 cheat codes that will help you get through the game. The first one you absolutely need in Makaimura. There's no default continue method here, so you have to press and hold right and then press B 3 times before you press start. But if that's not enough, you can use this code to activate a level select. Of course, the most infamous thing about Makaimura is that the ending isn't actually the ending. Beat the last boss, and then they tell you to do it all over again. I think most people got to that point and decided one loop was enough. If there's one good thing that carried across from the arcade to the Famicom port, it's that amazing soundtrack. This series is known for its amazing music, and it's all here. So it seems like after 3 bad ports of really good arcade games, Capcom decided to cut ties with Micronics here. This is the last time that they're going to get their hands on one of their games. We're going to start seeing the Capcom that we know and love pretty soon. This isn't the end of the Makaimura series on 8-bit platforms either. The Red Artemer gets its own game pretty late in the platform. And there's actually 2 8-bit ports of Dai Makaimura, or Ghouls and Ghosts. Those are on other platforms, though. As for this one, it's been 35 years. There are many better options for playing Ghosts and Goblins. Get one of the many ports of the arcade version and enjoy a really good game. Don't play this shambling mockery of one.